Hello, student. Welcome to my class. So, we were studying about the animal kingdom. We have studied that according to Whitaker's five kingdom classification, the superior most kingdom is the animal kingdom. And we are so proud to be animals, right? So, now we were studying about the animal classifications and on what basis the animal classifications are being made. So, now the thing is that, like, have you ever thought that what is like, that animals you see around you, there are so many, several animals are there. You yourself, you are also an animal. I myself also am an animal. And what is there inside our body? What is present inside our body? So is it like this eraser, like this rubber? It is like this rubber, we know this rubber is totally something solid, right? Or is it like something like the your pen or anything which is, or if I take this thing, is it something a hollow thing? What is there inside our body? Is there any cavity, like is it a balloon like which is filled up with some fluid? Now, students, we have to know that yes, there is something called the coelom, and it is indeed a balloon like fluid filled substance. Now, we have also studied that in case of the animals, we have studied the germ layers, right? That is the first formed tissues in the animals during the embryonic life. Now, we know that the animals, they are having the three types of germ layers, that is ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. And that also, that mesoderm is not present in all animals. But in certain animals, mesoderms are present, and those who have the mesoderm, we call them as the triploblastic animals. Else, they are diploblastic animals, right? But exception is there. We won't say porifera diploblastic because porifera, we know it is a cellular level of organization. The first tissue level organization is starting from the diploblastic animal, that is the Cnidaria. Okay, we also call the Cnidaria as the coelenterids. And next we have studied that the ctenophorans, they are also diploblastic. But when we have come to the platyhelminthes, that is the flatworms, they were the triploblastic. Okay, so I'll share you something. I'll share you over here. Let us. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. So, see, this is one cute animal over here. So, I hope you know this, right? You know this is a koala bear. So now, this animal, it is indeed, it is a mammal. That is also in the animal kingdom. We know that the highest among the chordates is the king, is the mammalia. Okay, so now we know that first and foremost, I'll revise the topic a little bit, that we have learned that about the germ layers, right? We have learned about the germ layers, and that also the germ layers, they are of three types, right? We know that the germ layers are of three types. That is, we know that there is ectoderm, which usually forms the outer body wall, right? So ectoderm, right? We also know that we have uh, the layer which usually forms the gut wall. So that we will be calling it as endoderm, right? And we know that we have another germ layer, which I'll write with some other color. I'll write that as mesoderm, right? Now, as I've told you that mesoderm is not present with all, right? Mesoderm is not present with all. Suppose if we have only the ectoderm and the endoderm, then we will be calling it as the diploblastic animal. Okay, we will be calling it as diploblastic, right? And if it is that all the three germ layers are present, then we will be calling it as triploblastic. Done. And I've just now told you the example that diploblastics, we will say that cnidarians or the coelentrates and the ctenophorans, right? And in the triploblastic, that is from the flatworms or the platyhelminthes up to the chordates, we will call all of them as the triploblastic. So students, now we will say that this is now what about the idea of coelom that I was supposed to tell you? Now coelom, it is actually a body cavity. Okay, it is a body cavity, and it is not just a body cavity. We will say that the coelom is a body cavity which is lined by mesoderm. Okay, and next thing we will definitely say that the coelom, it is a cavity which will be present between the body wall and the gut wall. Okay, done. So we have to remember these two. So let us write the definition. That is, we will say that coelom is the body cavity. Now you can say that it is a body cavity filled with fluid, because we have the coelomic fluid inside this body cavity. So coelom is the body cavity lined by, now this is the most important thing of which I'm writing. Okay, please concentrate over here now. Okay, so lined by mesoderm, it's the very vital point. Okay, lined by mesoderm. Next point I'll write, lying between the body wall. Okay, intentionally I've written B capital. Okay, just to highlight it, between the body wall and gut wall. Just now I've told you the gut wall is usually lined up by endoderm. Now you have the gut wall and the body wall. Okay, in between these two, you have a space. Okay, you have a cavity which is usually filled with the coelomic fluid. So that cavity, we will be calling it as the coelom. Okay, done. So you've understood. Now the question is, we have to mention over here whether every animal has this coelom. No, that's not the fact. Not all animal possess coelom, right? Not all animal possess coelom. So we have to keep this in mind. Now, why I'm telling this? We know you can say that, ma'am, you've said that triploblastic animals, those who have the mesoderm. अगर ये एनिमल का मेसोडर्म नाम का जर्म लेयर होगा, तो ही तो हो सकता है सीलोम. आप क्यों बोल रहे हैं कि सब एनिमल्स का सीलोम नहीं हो? हाँ, ठीक है, जिनका मेसोडर्म नहीं है, those who are not having mesoderm, I understand that coelom will not be there. बट जिनका मेसोडर्म है, जो ट्रिप्लोब्लास्टिक है एनिमल्स, आप क्यों बोल रहे हैं कि वो एनिमल्स का वो एनिमल्स का बॉडी कैविटी ना भी हो सकता है? हाँ जी, वो एनिमल्स का भी बॉडी कैविटी ना भी हो सकता है. Now, I'll detail you the reason. Now, we know that platyhelminthes, that is the first triploblastic animal which we have seen, right? We have seen the first triploblastic animal, that is the platyhelminthes. Let me rub the board so that I can get the space. Okay. So now see that if I say that it is the in the platyhelminthes. Okay, so in the platyhelminthes they are triploblastic. They are having the mesoderm. Okay, but because they are flatworms, okay, because they are the flatworms, so they are not having the sufficient space to have the body cavity. Do you understand? See, if you see the picture over here, that we see that this, the first picture, this one, this is the picture of planaria, whom we call as Dugacia also. So this बेचारा प्लेनेरिया जो है ना, ओके, ये बेचारा प्लेनेरिया जो है, जिनको हम लोग डुगेशिया भी कहते हैं, ओके, वी कॉल इट एज डुगेशिया ऑल्सो। तो ये बेचारा फ्लैटवर्म होने के नाते, you know, they are having very little space. Okay, so suppose if a body cavity is still present, that is filled up with parenchymatous tissue. Now what is this parenchymatous tissue? This parenchymatous tissue is secreted from the mesoderm itself. It is generated from the mesoderm itself. So that is the reason why over here, because of this type of tissue over here, okay, so as you can see in this diagram also, that it is fulfilled, okay, filled up with the parenchymatous tissue over here, and hence we can't see any body cavity. Now, to make it clear, Bacho, I will make it clear to you. See, if this is the ectoderm, right? It is the ectoderm that I'm drawing, this yellow portion. Let's say that this is the ectoderm, okay? And next, I'll draw over here that let this be the gut wall. So, lined up by the endoderm. So, इनके बीच इधर में जो हो सकता था बॉडी कैविटी, इधर में जो बॉडी कैविटी हो सकता था, वो पॉसिबल नहीं हो रहा है, okay, because it is filled up with the meso this particular parenchymatous tissue, which we also call it as the mesenchyma. Okay, we can call this type of a parenchymatous tissue as mesenchyma. Okay, so because of this, we are not finding any type of coelom in the flatworms, as a result of which the flatworms, they are being called as acoelomate. Okay, we will be calling the flatworm as acoelomate. Fine. That means when we use the word a, what we mean? That no coelom. भगवान इनको ट्रिप्लोब्लास्टिक बनाया, भगवान इनको मेसोडर्म गिफ्ट भी किया, पर अनफॉर्चुनेटली भगवान इनको फ्लैट बनाया, तो इसलिए बॉडी कैविटी जो था वो इतना ही छोटा था कि उनमें मेसेनकाइमा नाम का ये टिश्यू, जो एक पैरेन्काइमेटस टिश्यू होता है, वो उसको फिल करके रखे हैं, तो इसलिए इनका सिलोम पॉसिबल नहीं है. Okay, so very unfortunate, right? Now next we will be coming that then where do we find coelom, ma'am? Where do we find the coelom? So इसके बाद we will see, we will notice that suppose the Ascalminthus, okay, the Ascalminthus, which we call as roundworm also. Okay, so we call these Ascalminthus. Now here there is another picture of the planaria where I have it over here to show you. Okay, so you can see this Dugacia. Now, Bacho, can you tell me what other examples of flatworm you have? Okay, yes, you tell me what other examples. I'll tell you. We have the Taenia solium, right? That is the tapeworm, and we have the Taenia saginata. That is the like Taenia solium is the pork beef, this pork tapeworm, and the Taenia saginata is the beef tapeworm. Like if we consume pork meat and if it is not cooked very well, then we can get contaminated. It is a very bad parasite. All parasites are bad, no parasites are good, but it is very harmful. So like less cooked meat from the pork and like pork meat and the beef. Okay, so these, if we don't cook it well and if we consume, then these parasite can harbor inside our body. Okay, so be careful about it. And so this, but this is not a parasite. Okay, this is planaria, but it's a flatworm. So this problem that I have told you, that they are acylomet, it is applicable for the Dugasians also. Okay, next we can see this is your NCRT diagram. Okay, NCRT diagram, but you can nicely, you can see over here that here you see that this is the gut. Just a minute बच्चों, ये जो है ये आपका गट वॉल है, ये मतलब गट है, ये जो है ये आपका गट है। तो ये गट को सराउंड करा है, ये जो है ये आपका एंडोडर्म है, राइट, इट इज एंडोडर्म। और अभी अभी मैंने आपको बताया है कि ये जो है ये आपका एंडोडर्म लेयर है, जो एक जर्म लेयर भी है। और ये जो है ये आउटर लेयर जो दिख रहा है ये आपका एक्टोडर्म होगा। दिस इज द एक्टोडर्म, राइट, एंड दिस वन we will call it as the mesoderm. And see, we are not getting any body cavity inside the mesodermal layer. Okay, so I hope it is very well now understood to you. Okay, it's clear to you. So next we will go to this concept of pseudocoelom, that just now as I have told you, that in case of the Ascalminthus, okay, whom we also Ascalminthus, whom we also call as नेमाटोडा। और जैसे आपको, आपका भी बहुत सारा नाम होता है, चिंटू, टोनू, गुबलू, कितना नाम होता है, राइट? सो similarly, these Ascalminthus, they are called as nematoda. They can also be called as roundworms. Okay, ये सब नाम इनको कहला जाता है। ओके, सो नाउ बेचारा ये जो एस्केलमिंथिस, इनका भी ट्रिप्लोब्लास्टिक, दिस एस्केलमिंथिस इज ऑल्सो अ ट्रिप्लोब्लास्टिक एनिमल। ओके, दिस इज ऑल्सो अ ट्रिप्लोब्लास्टिक एनिमल, पर मतलब ट्रिप्लोब्लास्टिक होने के नाते इनका मेसोडर्म भी है, पर इनका भी ट्रू सीलोम नहीं है। क्यों नहीं है? The reason is that you see that the mesoderm, see, these are the mesodermal tissue. Okay, so we see that these are the mesodermal tissue, but students, these mesodermal tissues, they are present as scattered pouch. Okay, बच्चों इनसे कंफ्यूज मत होना कि इधर में तो मैम, इधर में तो एक स्पेस दिखाई जा रहा है। नहीं बच्चों, ये जो है ना, ये पूरा का पूरा पैचेस है, मेसोडर्म का पैचेस है। ओके, so this is entirely the mesodermal tissue. You can see that this mesodermal tissue over here in this diagram, it has been shown that in in 4 places you see these mesodermal tissues present. Okay, so ये सब आपका mesoderm है। Okay, now students, if this mesoderm is present in this way, अगर mesoderm जो है ये scattered pouch जैसे ऐसे करके रहेंगे, तो हम लोग का ये जो दिखाई दे रहा है इधर, सी, हम लोग का इधर जो दिखाई दे रहा है ये तो आपका गट बन गया, राइट? दिस इज गट। नाउ here you can see one body cavity, right? इधर भी आपका बॉडी कैविटी दिखाई दे रहा है, इधर भी आपका बॉडी कैविटी दिखाई दे रहा है, इधर भी आपका बॉडी कैविटी दिखाई दे रहा है। पर आप बोलेंगे कि मैम ये तो है, इधर में मेसोडर्म भी है, बॉडी कैविटी भी है, आप क्यों बोल रहा है कि इनका ट्रू सीलोम नहीं है? सच में इनका नहीं है। क्यों नहीं है बच्चों? देखो एक बार ख्याल करके देखो, इधर में मेसोडर्म है, इधर में मेसोडर्म है, पर इधर में जो है ये तो आपका एक्टोडर्म दिखाई दे रहा है, ये तो एक्टोडर्म, राइट। और आपका इधर में जो है, ये तो आपका एंडोडर्म दिखाई दे रहा है, isn't it so? It's endoderm. So what was our definition for the coelom? A body cavity lined completely by the mesoderm. ये बॉडी कैविटी चारों तरफ से पूरा का पूरा मेसोडर्म से बॉर्डर्ड, मतलब पूरा का पूरा मेसोडर्म से घिरा रहना होगा. इट हैज टू बी entirely lined up by the mesoderm, but that is not being found over here. So that means this coelom, we can't call it as the true coelom. So whatever is not true, what is it? It is false, right? It is a false coelom. So anything which is false, what we call it? We call it as pseudo, right? So hence this will be called as the pseudo coelom. Correct? Done? So this is the pseudocoelom. So I hope it is clear to you, students. Now we will come to the next slide. Now the much awaited coelom, that is the enterocoelom or a true coelom. आप लोग सोच रहे होंगे कि मैम तो बोलते ही जा रहा है कि सीलोम नहीं है, सीलोम नहीं है, तो है कहाँ? तो दिस इज द true coelom. Okay, the true coelom, that is the U coelom. Whenever we use, okay, whenever we use like the word, that is whenever we say that anything which is true, like as I've told you, anything which is false, we call it as uh, the anything which is called false, we call it as the pseudo. And similarly, anything which is true, we call it as U. Okay. So here comes the word, we will say eucoelomate. Okay. Eucoelomate. Now, in case of eucoelomate, that is a true coelom is present. Okay. And see over here, this is the body cavity. और देखो बच्चों, ये जो body cavity है, इनका हर तरफ से, चारों तरफ से मेसोडर्म से ये लाइन अप किया हुआ है, राइट? Or it is entirely bounded by the mesoderm from all sides. So that is why we can call it as the true coelom, right? It has kept the promise of having the coelom, right? The mesoderm has covered the coelom, covered the body cavity entirely. Now, students, again, we have to know another thing. That is, when we are calling that enterocoelom, okay, in case of the enterocoelom, so this enterocoelom, we have to remember one thing, that it is again of two types. Okay, suppose like you see in this picture, which is like the one which you have over there, over here, okay, like you can see, when it is present, just a minute. Okay, just a minute. Hmm. So what you can see over here, this is the caesocoelom, right? Now you can see that the caesocoelom, how it is being formed. Like the one picture which is at the bottom, you can see that the coelom is being formed along the gut wall, right? See, you can see, I'm marking it. It is along the gut wall. But in case of the caesocoelom, it is not along the gut wall. Rather, it has been formed as a tear. Now, this word caeso, the word meaning of caeso is tear. Okay. So when the inside the mesodermal tissue, when there is a tear which has occurred and created a cavity, not a properly formed, though it is entirely lined up by mesoderm, but it is not properly formed. So in that case, we use the word caesocoelom. Okay. Now, caesocoelom is definitely among the eucoelomates. It is a lower order characteristics. Okay, it is a lower order characteristics. And next, when we are saying that enterocoelom, which has been formed, this is the enterocoelom, which has been formed along the gut wall. Okay, enteron, the word enteron, this word meaning is gut. Okay, enteron means gut. So it has been formed along the gut wall. So that means this is a higher order characteristics. Okay. Now, we know that this eucoelomates, okay, eucoelomates, who are the eucoelomates? We have to categorize. We know that up to Ascalminthus, we have found that that is not true coelom, right? Now, eucoelomates, it is from this Annelida, okay? It is from Annelida up to Chordata. Okay, that means what? You have Annelida, you have Arthropoda, you have Mollusca, you have Hemichordata, you have Echinodermata, and you have Echinodermata, you have Hemichordata, and you have Chordata. Okay, once let me tell you in order. Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata, and Chordata. Okay, so all these six classes, they are your eucoelomates. Okay, sorry, these phylum, all these six phylum, they are the eucoelomates, right? And this particular among the eucoelomates, we will say that the caesocoelomates, that is among them, छेठो फाइलम हमने चुन लिया जिनका आपका ইউসিলোমেটস होगा, দে আর দ্য ইউসিলোমেটস। ছটা ফাইলাম যেটা কিনা ইউসিলোমেট আছে, কিন্তু এই ছটা ফাইলামের মধ্যে অ্যানিলিডা, আর্থ্রোপোডা, মোলাস্কা, এই তিনটে, ওকে, এই তিনটে যেখানে আমি বলবো অ্যানিলিডা, নেক্সট আর্থ্রোপোডা, নেক্সট মোলাস্কা, এই তিনটে ফাইলাম, they are belonging to the caesocoelomates. Okay, মানে কি proper way তে coelomটা তৈরি হয়নি, the coelom hasn't been formed in a proper way. That is why it is not, though it is a true coelom, but it is not a higher order characteristics, it is a lower order characteristics, and that is known as caesocoelom. And the remaining phylum, that is your this Echinodermata, and next is Hemichordata and the Chordata. Okay, these three, they are the enterocoelomates. Okay, so let me write it for you. Echinodermata, Hemichordata, and Chordata. Done, students? So I hope you understand. So, and another question also that is very usual one, which is being asked, that Echinodermata, though you know Echinodermata as some phylum where we have the starfishes, but they don't have many characteristics which belong to the higher animals. Like they have pentamerous radial symmetry. Now you know that radial symmetry is a lower order characteristics, right? Now they have pentamerous radial symmetry. When before Echinodermata only, we have the bilateral symmetries found in the Annelida, we find it in the Arthropoda, right? So bilateral symmetry is there in the juniors, but the Echinodermata being kept closer to to the chordates is having pentamerous radial symmetry, then we know that they have only the water vascular system, right? When other systems already, excretory system, respiratory system, all these have already touched circulatory system, started from the annelids. It has already been shown by the lower ones. But still, echinodermata, despite of having these lower order characteristics, still it has been kept close to hemichordata and chordata. Why? The main reason, there are two reasons, okay? One I'll tell you later. But the first reason, that is because they are enterocoelomates. No doubt we have these as eucoelomate, okay? But Annelida to chordata are eucoelomates. But echinodermata is enterocoelomate. That is why, though it has other characteristics lower than Annelida, still it has been kept close to chordata. Okay, like that suppose some your captains, okay, like in your class captains, they get a good position in the assembly hall, right? So that is why, because they have the captain in them, okay, that is why they are called the captain. So they, during the assembly, when your principal stands, your class teacher is standing, your captain might be standing beside your class teacher, right? So she's getting a good position because she has shown some responsible characteristics to become a captain, right? So it is sort of like that. So this is a very vital question, students. And another reason is also there, which I'll tell you later after I explain that area. So for today, that's all. Thank you very much. Bye, students.